The blue-eyed ground dove was thought to be extinct for 75 years until it was rediscovered in the state of Minas Gerais in 2015. Since then, SAVE Brazil has been working on a conservation program for this critically endangered bird, including creating a private reserve and motivating the creation of the Botumirim State Park. Given the species has only recently been rediscovered, we need to learn about what the species needs to survive and increase its population to a safe number.
I'm Ben Hennessy, the coordinator for the Brazil program for American Bird Conservancy.
And I'm Albert Aguiar, a biologist, project coordinator from SAVE Brasil.
When I was here in 2019, SAVE Brasil estimated there was a population of 22
individuals, yeah.
Right.
We are working like for 5 years, and we start first here in Botumirim making a lot of field expeditions to find what the population size was at that time.
Right.
So we look here in Botumirim, we find small patches of new occurrence areas, but we also look more in Minas Gerais state, we go to Mato Grosso state, we look for the historical occurrence places, we identify the species. We know for our expeditions that today the blue-eyed ground dove is only here in Botumirim.
Just to make this clear, these are all the number of birds that exist. There's none in captivity. That's it.
Yeah.
And just here in Botumirim.
Just here in Botumirim.
Right.
Our last census, we count 15 individuals. We have 5 areas where the species is occurring. There is time where the species is not present, but in the next visit we count 2 individuals. The next one is 4. For sure we miss the species, we are counting them.
Each breeding season you've been protecting nests and monitoring nests.
We have an increase of 20% of the number of nests found in comparison to 2021.
Okay.
So we have 6 nests this year, but we monitoring them for the beginning to the end, or the fledging date, or when a predation occurs. So from this nest, we only have 4 chicks that left the nest, and we banned these chicks. And we also have prediction map, where this map shows us the high suitability for the species based on our current knowledge about the habitat the species occur. So we know the plants, we know the soil, and some of the characteristics that the species look for its territory. Right. So based on this data, we know exactly, or we believe that in the right places to look for the species. And although we have a lot of expeditions to find new occurrence areas, today we only have the population. All the individuals are located in a small, like Botumirim.
My name is Ben Phelan. I'm the head of conservation here in Parque das Aves, and I'm the director of the Center for the Conservation of Atlantic Rainforest Birds of Instituto Claraves. The population is so small, it's found in such a restricted area of Brazil that any catastrophic event, such as a large fire, could come through and destroy the entire area. So for that reason, in 2019, at a workshop, we brought together a range of specialists from around the world discussing what would be the best methods, the best approaches to saving the blue-eyed ground dove from extinction. Amongst the various actions that they defined, it was decided that it would be a good idea to set up an insurance population of this species so that if anything happens to the wild population, we'll be in a position to have a stock of these birds off-site and to have this possibility of reintroducing birds back into their natural habitat.
The theory behind it is that when a bird lays a nest, if that first egg is removed or lost, or in nature if it was lost, the birds would just have the capacity to lay another one. So in theory you could take out one egg and the birds would still be able to lay another 2. Sort of, yes. So it's the least harm that could happen to the species and yet increase the number of individuals that could in the population.
And we have all the setup here with incubators, brooders, the special formulas that we need to feed young birds. In preparation for working with the blue-eyed ground dove, we've been working with a model species. And the idea of this is that we need to develop and refine our techniques, get confident in working with dove chicks with a non-threatened species before we start working with the threatened species. So if we're going to make mistakes, we can make them with a species where the stakes are not so high. So we've been working here with chicks and eggs of the ruddy ground dove. The ruddy ground dove is a very common species in South America, found in a range of habitats, even in urban areas. And we sent out word to various rescue centres in Brazil that if they had any ruddy ground doves, if they could send them to us. So these are birds that have been rescued. Some of them have been attacked by cats or have gone through other experiences like that. They've come here to Parque das Aves. We've formed some breeding pairs, and we've been working to incubate the eggs, understand the requirements for incubating those eggs, and to rear the chicks, so hand rearing and parent rearing, to get some experience with that. So we've been refining our methods, and we're now pretty confident that we can raise ground dove chicks safely. So when they hatch, these chicks are tiny, so they weigh a couple of grams. They weigh as much as a coin. They're really, really small. So it's very delicate, sensitive work. The team now has quite a wealth of experience to draw on when we work with the blue-eyed ground dove.
Well, the other time we really wanted to try to figure out, why the species is so rare. It seems pretty clear now. It's really specific to this white sand habitat.
Very specific.
We were looking at limiting factors, availability of food. You still think food isn't a problem? There's enough habitat, there's enough to eat?
For sure, there's a lot of reasons that this species is very rare.
Right.
Historically, it was always rare.
As rare as white sand habitat?
This habitat is very rare. We are here on a huge state park, 36,000 hectares. Not of this, all of the areas are like this one.
Right.
And some of the habitats are closely related to this. We have like white sand and one or another plant, but not all the resources that the species need, which are white sand, abundant water, 3 or 4 type species of grass that they feed on,
right,
and other 2 or 3 plant species blue-eyed ground dove nests on. So we need to have all package,
right,
and it's rare to have all of these.
How many nests have you found so far?
Since the beginning of the project, we are on 19 nests.
And those plant species, were they used in all of those nests?
All of those. The last breeding season, we find for the first time a new plant species. That species, the blue-eyed ground dove, we're using. Mm-hmm. But we always are one or another 2 species of plants, and now we have this 3rd one.
Have you seen anything that's sort of suspicious of any of these birds? They all seem healthy?
For the first years of the project, we are observing, we are monitoring, we are trying to understand the species without capturing it with nets or something like this.
Right.
We achieved some of maturity about the species knowledge on the condition that we can safely capturing some of the species and maybe ring them, put a band on the species to mark them, individualizing the species, which will help us to understand better the population size, the movements in the landscape, who is pairing with who, and dispersing of the young.
Right.
Once we are with the species in hand, we need to make the most of it. We have 2 individuals that we take some biological samples to bring to the laboratory and run some analysis of health status. We tested a lot of diseases, and we find nothing wrong with the species. So it seems that there is not a rarity explanation that is related to a disease.
Okay, this isn't the first threatened species where mist nets have been used to color band. It's sort of the cost benefit. Yes, there could be an impact. You think it's minimal because the benefit would give you so much more information. Right now, when you go to another area and you see a bird, you don't know if you're just seeing the bird from this area that's just flown over there.
For sure.
And with the color band, you'll have a much better idea of the area, the habitat, who's breeding.
The population is inside this state park. We are here now, the Butumirim State Park.
Though it was declared in 2018, there really hasn't been any very strong protection in the area.
Not yet.
Not yet.
It's challenging
Right.
nowadays in Brazil because we have some economical problems,
Right.
and we have some political choices about the environmental that is very difficult to address nowadays.
Right.
So SAVE Brasil, with the support of ABC, we are working closely to the state to make this park go beyond the title of paper park.
Right.
We are trying to to transform it in a place where the government, the state are present also to help us protecting all this land. We need to be clear, the Brazilian environmental laws, first we create by a decree a state park. So we mark the borders of the state park, but we still have families living here. I believe it's like 20 families living here, so they still produce some crop, small crop,
Right.
subsistence crops, and they have cattle, pigs, and they still live here.
Right.
We need to talk to people. We need to make social engagement. We need the farmers to believe in the project and to help us. It's not that easy, as you know, in the conservation world.
Right.
There is some strategies that could be applied even so. So this brigade starts in July and works until October, when the fire season is more likely to happen.
Right.
These persons work every day in the field, building fire breaks and also looking for possible areas where it starts to be burning. Since the beginning of the project, we are on the 4 years in a row without burning in blue-eye ground dove areas. So this is very important because we are maintaining the habitat that the species use.